You guys asked for it on yesterday's video. We're going to do a full preview for Week 6 between the Falcons and the Panthers. Division game number 3 for Atlanta on the year, third in a row, trying to improve to 3-0 in the NFC South, and we're going to talk about how they can accomplish that on today's episode with my prediction at the very end. But help us get some history of our own, speaking of threes here, by liking today's video and making it a third straight episode of Falcons Today with over 1,000 likes, something that has never been done on the channel before, something that rarely gets done here at Chat Sports. So I would really appreciate it if you could hit that big thumbs up button for me down below. Now, as always, I like to begin our previews off by just looking over both teams here. The Falcons offense against the Carolina defense. Panthers coming off a bye, so they don't have quite as big of a sample size as the Atlanta Falcons. But Falcons offense definitely shaping up after a slow week 1 and then a little bit of a down week 3 against the Chiefs. Something that has somewhat improved, but not improved enough, I suppose, is the third down offense. Still lagging behind also with the red zone. Those are two areas that have to get cleaned up when you go and face some tougher competition later on in the season. Meanwhile, Carolina's offense is virtually dead last in almost everything. They do have one bright spot, which we'll look at in today's episode, but the Atlanta defense needs to improve. They are dead last in points allowed. The last 2 weeks, it has been bad against the Saints and the Buccaneers. They have their offense to thank for bailing them out. So hopefully with a little bit of a lesser opponent, but we shouldn't overlook them completely. The Falcons defense can kind of get back on track against Andy Dalton and the Panthers. Some quick injury notes to hit, though. The Falcons have a mixture of good and some bad news coming into this week. Troy Andersen is day-to-day with the knee injury. He picked up that injury during the Saints game. He missed the Bucs game on a short week. We'll see if he's able to play. If not, watch for rookie JT Bertrand to have another large role. Nate Landman, though, was activated off injured reserve, so fingers crossed with a good week of practice, he could be available to play and probably fill right in for for Andersen. So no real need for Bertrand. And then finally, Dee Alford, he is in concussion protocol. He picked up that in the Bucs win, so don't hold your breath on him being available this Sunday. Meanwhile, the Panthers come into this game extremely banged up. I mean, they have a handful of guys over the last few days that were placed on season-ending IR. Their starting center, Shaq Thompson, one of the best players on their defense. And then if you missed it earlier this year, their star defensive tackle, Derek Brown, lost for the year. Meanwhile, they're still waiting on Adam Thielen to come back from injured reserve, so no great white hope for them on offense. Tommy Tremble is in concussion protocol after they were not on a bye last week. They lost to the Bears. That was silly of me. Taylor Modden, their starting tackle, is out already with a tricep injury. Jadeveon Clowney is dealing with a shoulder injury. He missed the Bears game as a result of that. And then Josie Jewell also missing week 5 with a hamstring injury. So Carolina much more banged up and in a much worse spot when it comes to a lack of identity on offense and defense heading into week 6. Now we're going to look at my 3 keys to victory for Atlanta, but predict the score for me down below in the comment section. Falcons versus Panthers. I'm going to give you my score prediction later on in the video, but I do want to hear from everyone watching right now. So if a YouTube ad break comes on by, take advantage of it, scroll on down, and let me know. My first key to victory is take Carolina seriously. This is something Arthur Smith and the Falcons did not do last year, and you could argue that single-handedly cost Arthur Smith his job, and we'd be living in a very different universe if the Falcons took the Panthers seriously last year, who at the time were a 1-win team, and they picked up their second win beating the Falcons. But the Carolina Panthers record from 2022 to present day is 10-29. The Carolina Panthers record versus the Atlanta Falcons from 2022 to 2024 is 2-2. 20% of their wins over the last 2 years and change have come against the Atlanta Falcons. That's embarrassing. That should make folks in Flowery Branch sick to their stomach. That has to end on Sunday. So I am forbidding everyone for overlooking the Panthers, because twice now the Falcons have done that. Now, both of those losses came in torrential downpour, which doesn't excuse the Falcons because the Panthers played in the same conditions. But the good news is I looked at the weather. It's going to be 81 degrees and sunny in Charlotte on Sunday. So that should not be a factor. That should not be something that slows down Atlanta's offense. But as a group, I am putting us all on Panthers overlooking probation. We have to take them seriously this Sunday. They are not a CFL team. They are a CFL team to 30 other teams. When they play the Falcons, they come out like the U in 2001. So no booms for the Falcons, only dooms. They need to get their shit together when it comes to Carolina. We are on probation from overlooking the Panthers. Now, before we look at the other two keys to victory for the Atlanta Falcons, I do want to tell everyone watching about our great sponsor today, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. All you do at PrizePicks is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and then watch the winnings roll in. Let me give you an example of my PrizePicks selections for this upcoming Sunday. I'm taking the more on Caleb Williams. He has been playing very well lately. They got a London game, the Jags. I like the more here. Also like the more on Darnell Mooney. What's that, 56.5 receiving yards? He's arguably been, just from a numbers perspective, the #1 receiver for Atlanta. But Drake London is still wide receiver 1. Don't get it twisted. But I like the more for Mooney here. Also like the more for Tony Pollard. They're coming off a bye. They don't have a very good quarterback situation here. Run the football if you're Tennessee. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Now, because I love you guys, I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, run your game. If the Panthers find a way to win on Sunday, it's because they are effective at running the football. So for the Falcons, they need to clog up the run. They need to make sure that Chuba Hubbard and this ground game does not take things over for Carolina at home, because there should be some level of respect that gets put on the Carolina Panthers rushing attack here. Look at where they are right now. Carries 117 on the season, ranking 22nd in the NFL. Meanwhile, yardage 17th, average 10th. My suspicion is, with Bryce Young getting bunched not too long ago at this point, they had decided, okay, we need to go a different direction. We need to start running the football. They have rushed the football for over 100 yards for 3 straight weeks coming into this Sunday. And a big reason why, this player, Chuba Hubbard, who I thought was just going to be a backup on my fantasy team. He is not a starter because he has averaged nearly 6 yards a pop, nearly 400 yards on the year already, and 2 touchdowns. So, Andy Dalton, I believe this goes for backup quarterbacks getting a start, kind of a spot start, and head coaches getting a spot start. They have a little bit of voodoo magic in their first game as an interim or as a backup coming to the starting position. That voodoo magic wears off after 1 week. So Andy Dalton, he had his 1 week in the sun against the Las Vegas Raiders. Since then, they've come crashing down to earth with losses to the Bengals and to the Bears, 1 home and 1 away. So now with Andy Dalton back down to earth, they're going to probably invest heavily in the run game. Insert Chuba Hubbard, which equates to stop the run if you are the Falcons. This is Carolina's only path to victory, in my opinion. I do not see a world, and I'm going to hopefully not jinx anything, knock on wood, where Andy Dalton dices up Jesse Bates, A.J. Terrell, and Justin Simmons over the middle and deep in Atlanta's secondary. So for me, stop the run, and I'm not going to say this game is going to be easy, because we go back to our key number 1 to this game, take Carolina seriously, but I'm going to feel a lot better. By the way, I just want to update everyone. Yesterday was one of the most successful videos in channel history from a subscriber standpoint. We picked up nearly 100 new subscribers. So welcome aboard to everyone. We don't bite here, but we're not slowing down, trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, a little under 3,000 subs away. So help us continue to grow, help us continue to be the largest Atlanta Falcons YouTube community out there. And we invite you to hang out with us because it's completely free, so you have nothing to lose. Third and final key to victory. Continue the success the Falcons have had up front in the offensive line. Let's go back for a moment to week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. TJ Watt and that Steelers front 5 bullied and beat up the Atlanta Falcons, right? Kirk Cousins was pressured 9 times in that game, 32% of his dropbacks. 1 out of every 3 times he dropped back to throw the football, he was either pressured, he was either hurried, he was either knocked down, or he was sacked. Then they bounce back very nicely against the Philadelphia Eagles. That 32% drops down in half. Then they play Chris Jones and the Kansas City Chiefs. Credit to KC, they brought the heat. But then look at the last 2 weeks. 13%, 16%. I mean, 16% was a low for the first 3 weeks. Now it's a high for the last 2 weeks. So major kudos and major credit to Jake Matthews and that coaching staff in Atlanta for getting the offensive line back to where it should be, which is one of the cores of this team. One of the nucleuses, the biggest strength of this team arguably could be their offensive line. So I want to take what the Falcons have done offensively well over their 3-game winning streak and continue to build off of that. I think far too often in sports, or let's just take the NFL here as fans, we go week to week and we create an entire matchup and keys to victory solely based around the opposing team. Sometimes you just got to look a little bit internally and go, well, what do we do well? Whatever that is, let's find it and let's shove it down their throats. And for Atlanta, what do they do well? They've got a great offensive line that's going to protect the quarterback, and it's going to open up holes for Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. So I want to continue to build off of those strengths, right? Week to week, it should not only be about what do the Panthers not do well? What do the Panthers do well? Let's take that away, or let's make sure we exploit that. Yeah, you want to look at those things for sure, but you don't want to lose identity of what you do well as a football team. Stick to your guns. Your guns is the 5 guys up front, a top 5 offensive line of football. Let's keep building off of that. Plus, the Falcons offense this year is 3-0 or the Falcons as a team, are 3-0 when they score 20-plus points in a game. They are 0-2 when they fail to reach 20 points. So, for me, offensive success starts up front in the trenches. You want to put up points, you got to be able to pass or run the football, or better yet, do both. And for me, those 2 things start with the 5 guys at the line of scrimmage. So give me your score prediction one last time before I give you mine. Falcons versus Panthers. Don't be afraid. Scroll on down. Type it in the comment section. I always love to scroll on my phone before I go to bed and see what you guys comment and what your score predictions are. For me, I'm going to go 13-point victory. Falcons 30, Panthers 17. I'm not going to completely discredit Carolina's offense because Atlanta's defense has been shaky, and that's being generous the last 2 weeks. So I'll give them 17 points in their house, but the Falcons offense keeps on rolling. Another 30-burger for the Falcons.